Okay, let's resume, and we are now on the validity period of building permit. So 1 year. If the permit is issued and it did not commence, meaning the construction did not started in 1 year, within 1 year, so the permit is automatically null and void. Okay, and or if the construction is suspended, abandoned, halted for what? For a period of 120 days or 4 months. Okay, that is 120 days. Okay, so the building permit is also null and void. So take note of that. Very important. Very important. That is for all of the discipline, not only civil engineering, also for what? Architectural, structural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, sanitary, electronics. Okay, so they are the same. They are the same. 1 year and 120 days. Okay. So next. So we already discussed it yesterday, but we have an appeal within 15 days from the date of receipt of advice of non-issuance, suspension or revocation of permit. So, like that, no? Like on that example, revocation of permit. So you can still what? Appeal. You are given 15 days to do your appeal, no? And then who will decide on your appeal? You will appeal to the Secretary of DPWH and the Secretary will decide. The decision of the Secretary shall be final, subject only to the review of the President of the Philippines. Take note how powerful is the DPWH Secretary. That is how powerful is the DPWH Secretary. Okay? It is only subject to review of the President of the Philippines. Okay. 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 So inspection and supervision of work. We need inspectors. We need inspectors. In fact, we already talked about that yesterday, that there are two set of officials. Those who will approve and those who will inspect. Okay. And sometimes, most of the time, in our country, the one who will approve is the one who will inspect. Okay. So that might not be a good practice because there might be somewhat bias, no? Bias and abuse. That is what susceptible to bias and abuse of those powerful and authorized person. Okay. But that is what's happening in our country. Okay. So the owner of the building is issued or granted a building permit under this code shall engage the services of the duly licensed architect or civil engineer. It is specific, no? Okay. Only civil engineer and licensed architect to undertake the full-time inspection and supervision of construction work. Okay. So electrical engineer, mechanical engineer is not allowed because it is only a duly licensed architect or civil engineer. Okay, will inspect and supervise. That's why those are doing this without following this rule or provision are what? Violating this code. Okay? Such architect or civil engineer may or may not be the same architect or civil engineer who is responsible for the design of the building. So it is not necessary that those inspectors are the ones who design the structure. Okay? It is understood, however, that in either case, the designing architect or civil engineer is not precluded from conducting inspection of the construction work to check and determine compliance with the plans and specification of the building as submitted. That is the power of the design engineer. Okay? The design engineer has the authority and power according to this code. Okay? Okay? You cannot bar them. You cannot say no if the design engineer want to inspect. Okay? If they want to inspect, you cannot say no. Okay? So you have to what? To instruct your guard or security guard about this, because they will be liable for this violation if they did not allow those design architect or engineer to enter the construction premises. There shall be kept at the job site at all times a logbook wherein the actual progress of construction, including tests conducted. There is a what? Record book for all the activities, listing of what? The testing, the progress, day-to-day progress, okay? And that logbook must be signed by the project in charge or PIC. Okay? Then after construction, so certificate of occupancy must be applied. So the owner should apply this with the help of architect or civil engineer, no? For the issuance of certificate of occupancy. Okay. Non-issuance, suspension, revocation of certificate of occupancy, and the procedure for appeal therefore shall be governed insofar as applicable by provision. So the same procedure, application for building permit and for building occupancy, the same procedure, okay? Including the appeal and the non-issuance procedure. Okay. Chapter 4, types of construction. So we have different types of construction. There are 5 types of construction according to building code. Type 1. Type 1 building shall be of wood construction. Type 5 building shall be fire resistant. So wood is what? The type of material that could easily be burned, could easily catch fire. And type 5 are those materials that are fire resistance. So imagine type 1 and type 5. So in between, there's a mixture of what? There's a level from 1, the easiest to be burned down, and the hardest to be burned down. Okay, that is according to the types of construction. So therefore, type 5 must be those buildings with structural elements made of what? Concrete, masonry, because concrete masonry are the hardest to be burned down. Okay, and special materials. Okay. So changes in type, you have to still inform requirements on the type of construction. Okay, we will not dilute it. We will what? Have chapter 5, requirements for fire zones. Okay, so there are definition of fire zones in our country. Fire zones are areas within which only certain types of buildings are permitted to be constructed based on their use or occupancy. Type of construction, resistance to fire. Building located in more than one fire zone. A building or structure is located partly in one fire zone and partly in another shall be considered to be in the more highly restricted fire zone. So let's look at the different type of fire zones. So there are level, I think there are level of fire zones. So this is with respect to fire, no? Requirements for fire zones. Okay? Chapter 5. Designation of fire zones. The Secretary, meaning the PWH, shall promulgate specific restrictions for its type of fire zone. Cities and municipalities shall be divided into such fire zones in accordance with local, physical, and spatial framework plans submitted by city, municipal, planning, and or development bodies. So that is dependent on the local government. Okay. So chapter 6, fire resistive requirements in construction. Requirement, fire resistive rating, material rating, fire rating of the material, okay, by testing, accredited type of testing methods, okay. Fire resistive time period rating, what do you mean by that? 1 hour fire rating, 2 hours fire rating, 3 hours fire rating, 4 hours fire rating. What do you mean by hours fire rating? That means, for example, if you have 2 hours fire rating, that material will be able to withstand 2 hours of fire. Okay, that is what we call 2 hours fire rated material. Okay. So fire resistive standard or material construction assemblies combinations shall be classified according to their fire retardant or flame spread rating as determined by general. So we can follow standards, but actually in our country we have a new law approved and became a law year 2008, and what we call the Fire Code of the Philippines. So that's why we can what? We can jump over that chapter 6 because chapter 5 and 6 is now what? Override. That is overridden by the new Fire Code of the Philippines, RA 9548. So, Chapter 7, classification and use of building, type of occupancy, type of occupancy. Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D. So, Group A, residential. Group B, residential, hotels and apartments. What is the difference between A and B? Okay. Group A shall be dwellings. Dwellings, you are going to occupy that building 24 hours for a long period of time. How about hotels? You are going to occupy that for a desired short period of time. Okay? Maybe the longest, maybe 1 year. 1 year staying in the hotel. 1 week, 1 day, okay? Temporary staying place, that is hotel. No? That is not your address. Okay? So residential, that is your permanent dwelling. Okay? So, how about letter C, Group C, education and recreation facilities. Okay? School or daycare purposes, okay, for instruction, education, or recreation. Okay, not classified in group 1 or in group 1 and 2 or group X occupancies. Okay. So group D, institutional occupancy shall include. So there are several types of occupational institutional occupancies. What are those? Hospital, nurseries, nursing homes. Okay. Group E, business and mercantile. Okay. There are several types of businesses, three types. Group F, industrial. Group G, storage and hazardous occupancy. There are 2 types. There are 5. There are 5 types of hazardous and storage facilities. Group X, assembly, other than Group I. Group I, assembly occupant load 1,000 or more. So 1,000 or more, Group I. So meaning Group H is less than 1,000. Okay, less than 1,000. Any assembly building without stage and having an occupant load of 300 or less. Okay, so less than 300 without stage. What do you mean by stage? That is the portion designed where performance is being done. Okay, so there are performance like what? Singing, dancing, and so on. Okay. So stadia, review instance, amusement park, structures not included within Group 1 or in Division 1, 2, 3 of this group. Okay. So accessory, Group J is accessory. Then that's all. Is that all? Other groupings, special groupings may be determined by the secretary. So those are the standard groupings according to this code. So standard occupancy, type of, meaning what is the function of your building? Okay, for what purpose do you want your building to be built on? No? So for what? Stage presentation, for residential, for hotel, for business, okay, for mercantile. Okay. Business and mercantile application are different. There is a what? This discrepancy between mercantile and business use. If you change in use, you have to inform them and ask for permission. Mixed occupancy. Okay. So that is for chapter 7. Then chapter 8, light and ventilation. These are very important for what? Public health. Okay, light. Requirements for light and ventilation. Measurement of site occupancy. Okay. So still fire escape not exceeding 1.2 meters. Okay. So there must not be over 1.2 meters projection. For example, of fire escape. Percentage of site, occupied size and dimension codes, ceiling height. Okay. Habitable rooms, minimum. Okay. Take note of the design. Okay. How much is the ceiling height? Minimum. Okay. Habitable rooms provided with artificial ventilation shall have ceiling height not less than 2.4. That is the minimum. 2.4 meters. Okay. That is with artificial ventilation. Without artificial ventilation, the minimum shall be 2.7. And for the second floor, 2.4. Okay. So 2.4. What about this one? Second floor 2.4. Succeeding story shall have an unobstructed typical headroom clearance of not less than 2.1. So from third floor and above 2.1. So ground floor 2.7, second floor 2.4, third floor and above 2.1 meters above the finished floor. Take note of that because we will what? Design the column. We will design the column. What is the height of the column? Minimum. Okay? So, mezzanine floor. Mezzanine floor should have clear ceiling height of not less than 1.8. So, for mezzanine, 1.8 is allowed. Okay? 1.8 meters. What is my height? My height is 1.7. So, Mezzanine floor is about like this. No? Let's say a mezzanine floor. 1.8 meters is about. Okay. So take note of that. Size and dimension of room. Take note of this. Okay. Minimum habitable room 6 square meter. Okay. Less than 6 square meter is violation. Okay. So minimum dimension is 2 meters. So meaning if 6 square meter, that is 2 by 3. That is the smallest room that is allowed by this code in our country. Okay? In our country. Okay? Kitchen, the smallest kitchen allowed is 3 square meter. The least dimension is 1.5. Okay? So meaning the smallest kitchen is 1.5 by 2. So 1.5 times 2 is 3 square meter. That is the smallest kitchen. Okay. What about CR? What is the smallest CR? 1.2 square meter. And the smallest dimension is 0.9. So 1.2 divided by 0.9. So let us divide using our calculator. So 1.2 divide 0.9. Take note of this. Memorize this one. 1.3. Okay. So the smallest CR is 0.9 by 1.3. Okay. 0.9 by 1.3. That is equal to 1.2 square meter. Space. We are talking of space. This does not include the wall thickness. This does not include the wall thickness. If the wall thickness is, do not include the wall thickness in the measurement. Okay. This is the smallest space. Okay. Because the definition is what? Habitation. You cannot habitate inside the thickness of the wall. Okay. That's why that is not included in the measurement. Okay. So we know the height, we know the length and width. Okay. So ground floor 2.7, second floor 2.4, third floor 2.1. Okay. Mezzanine 1.8. Please memorize. Airspace requirement. Okay. Minimum airspace shall be provided for school, for workshop, factories and offices, for habitable rooms, meaning residential and hotel. Okay. 14 cubic meters of airspace per person. 14 cubic meters. Okay. So the smallest third floor room is what? 6 square meters times 2.1 because the height is 2.1. So let us compute. Okay, let us compute. 2.1 in height times what? 6. So that is what? 12.6 cubic meters. Right? But that is not enough because the minimum for habitable rooms in our residential home is what? 14 cubic meters per person. So the answer is, if we compute 6 times 2.1, that is only 12.6. Okay? So if we have minimum what? Area, we should make it higher, a little bit higher than 2.1. So let us divide. So 14 divided by 6. That must be our height. 2.3. The height must be at least 2.3. So if that is in second floor, that is okay in second floor. But because the minimum in second floor is 2.4. And also in ground floor, the minimum is 2.7. So that is okay. But in third floor, you cannot make it 2.1 because if you have minimum area of 6 square meter, that is now a violation or what? Air space. Okay? Note of that and memorize those. Okay. For a school, the minimum is 3 cubic meters. Okay? With 1 square meter of floor area per person. So if we are inside a school, the design is 1 square meter for every student or teacher. That is for a school. Okay. Okay. That is equivalent to what? 3 cubic meters of airspace per person. Okay. Remember, we have what? We have airspace requirement for public health. Okay. So recall that on the last election, we have what? Groups where they are what? Estimating the number of crowd volume. So this is the crowd volume for what? With basis. We have a basis. 1 square meter, 1 person. And they are computing what? In 1 square meter, they allowed what? 2 person in 1 square meter in a crowded area. Because those are in open spaces. They are in open space. They are not inside the room. That's why they are allowed. Okay. So inside the school, 1 person, 1 square meter. Window openings. We have what? Provision for that. Vent shop. We have provision for air duct, ductings, right? Air duct shall open to a street or court by horizontal duct or intake below. So this is very important to us because now this is mechanical. This is now mechanical. Okay? This is mechanical. We are what? Studying engineering utilities mechanical. Okay? Ventilation, air ducts, skylights. Okay? So here air duct, okay, shall have an intake at a point below the lowest opening. Such duct or intake shall have a minimum unobstructed cross-sectional area of not less than 0.3 square meter. Okay? Unobstructed 0.3 with a minimum dimension of 300 millimeters. Okay? So 0.3, 300 millimeters, so 1 meter by 0.3. That is what we mean by 0.3 square meter. Okay? So 1 meter by 300 millimeters. Above the bottom of the shaft in the street surface or level of both of the respective ends of the duct or intake. What else? Skylight. Unless open to or outer air at the top or its full area, vent shall be covered by a skylight having a net-free area or fixed lower opening equal to the maximum required shaft area. Okay, there is a requirement for vent. Okay, ventilation or vent shaft shall have a the space provided for elevator is what we call shaft, elevator shaft. Okay, so vent shaft meaning this is an area provided for the smooth flow of or intake of fresh air. Okay. Cross-sectional area horizontal of not less than 0.1 square meter for every height of shaft. But in no case shall be area less than 1 square meter. Okay? No vent shaft shall have its least dimension less than 600 meters. Okay? 600 meters 1 square meter. So 0.1 square meter. So those are the important things about the NSCP. Anyway, we will include that in our design. So let's jump over that. So artificial ventilation, meaning with the equipment. So if you cannot follow the provision for natural ventilation, you have to use artificial ventilation, meaning you need equipment, you need the fans, you need air conditioning. Those are artificial ventilation. Okay. So an air conditioning system is also a mechanical device, not only making the habitable rooms cooler, but also changing the air. Okay, take in of fresh air from outside and discharge of used air from inside. Okay, used air meaning we already polluted the air with carbon dioxide, because as a human being exhale, if we exhale mostly carbon dioxide. We inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. So that must be replenished. The amount of carbon dioxide must be discharged and oxygen must be replenished from outside. So that is another function of air conditioning. So next chapter is 9. That is about what? It is about what? What is this title? Water. Oh? So water, sanitation. Sanitation including water and wastewater. So wastewater, water requirements. So that means for what? Both for sanitary engineer and master plumber. It is included in our engineering utilities too. So we will take a look at this, but we will do it later. Okay. So storm drainage system is included, meaning the amount of water that will fall over your roof must be controlled going down to your structure. Okay, so there must be a presence of gutter. There must be proper draining system. Okay. Okay, this is unknown to many. Pest and vermin control is subject to National Building Code. Pest and vermin control. What do you mean by vermin? Rats. No? Okay. Pest and vermin. So rats and cockroaches. Okay. Controlling those things is actually under the National Building Code, under sanitation, proper sanitation. Okay. So that's why we have a sanitation code of the Philippines, okay, including the noise pollution control. So if you're a neighbor, usually in Metro Manila, usually there are so many complaints, but the public doesn't know that the public doesn't know that there is a law that prohibits that. Okay, you can only make noise, produce noise without disturbing another person. So if you do produce a noise that will disturb another person, that is pollution. That is noise pollution. The fact that the neighbors are being disturbed, they are polluted by your noise. And there is a live law. It is a law. Okay? But can you now can you go to the police and report that? Because you can say to the Mr. Policeman, please arrest those neighbors because they are what? Violating the noise pollution control law. Section 906 of PD 1096. You can say that to the police. You can say that to the police, but the police will not react because because who is the enforcing agency of this PD 1096? The Secretary of Public Works and Highways. You will report to DPWH or the City Engineer's Office or the City Sanitary Inspector. You can report either to City Sanitary Inspector, you can report to the city or municipal sanitary department, you can report to the city engineer, or you can report directly to the DPWH, district, province, region, or the national. Because police will not react. Because this law are enforced by DPWH. Okay, so enforcement is different. So you cannot go directly to the police and claim you are being disturbed by noise pollution of your neighbors. Okay, that is different. Now, after going to sanitary inspector, immediately the sanitary inspector, because he's the one authorized to monitor that area, no, not only the waste, solid waste, liquid waste, air pollution, including the noise pollution. He's authorized to do that. He knows about the procedure. He will give you the what? He will give you the clearance to file complaint, and then that clearance to file complaint, you have to get it, and now you can now go directly now to the police using that paper. Now you can now you are now what have sort of ordering the police to assist you. Okay, that is meaning the sanitary inspector or the sanitary engineer of that municipality is now commanding the police to assist you in your problem. Or sometimes the sanitary inspector themselves will accompany and will ask some police assistance, 1 or 2 police assistants they will ask, including themselves. They will go to your neighbor